Nagesh. I'm a retired additional secretary and team IAS network. So today we are doing a unit on science and technology. So as I said earlier in the earlier videos, GS3 has the following components: economy, agriculture, science, technology, environment, internal security, disaster management. See, why we keep repeating the syllabus is because as a student, as a candidate, you are supposed to know the syllabus, you are supposed to know the components of the syllabus. This is necessary for a planned preparation and to see that you don't stray. There's a tendency to go out of the syllabus. All this is checked if you keep visiting the syllabus again and again. Okay, see the question. GS3 Science and Technology. There is a need for a space legislation enabling coherence across technological, legal, commercial, diplomatic, and defense goals. So, what the examiner wants to know from you is what is the need for a legislation, the space legislation, which because it is going to comprehend so many aspects: the technological, legal, commercial, diplomatic, and defense. Substantiate with reference to the challenges to fulfilling the potential of space. Then what challenges are envisaged in developing a space legislation? So as in the other videos, first we have a brief introduction on the potential of space. See, in the introduction with the background, first we speak of the potential of space. I speak of the Mars mission by China and USA. Then United Arab Emirates Mars orbiter mission, the first astronaut trip to orbit on a commercial enterprise built by SpaceX. We're just examining the potential of outer space. We're just having an introduction. Then see the changes brought about, technological changes. See earlier, the NASA space shuttle for carrying luggage load per kg was $54,500. Now the SpaceX Falcon 9, it is carrying the same thing for $2,720 per kg. So in a decade, it could be less than $100 per kg. So this is the potential of space, and we are seeing the changes brought about in technology. Then we go to the potentialities of outer space. First thing, global internet access. See, now there are plans for more than 10,000 small satellites in space, which will improve the global internet access. This is the first important potential which is going to be realized. The second thing would be telemedicine and distance education. These two are other upcoming potentialities of the upcoming potentialities from outer space. The third, weather forecasting, global logistics, disaster response. Disaster response, of course, it is a very important thing, especially in the wake of climate change and sudden changes in weather fluctuations leading to disruption of human lives, causing damages to human lives and property. So these are the potentialities, these are the areas which are proving to be a great source of strength to us. Now come to the other part of the answer. What are the challenges in fulfilling the potential to space? See, the first challenge would be limited scope of treaties. Now, there is one treaty which is called the Outer Space Treaty of 1967. Now, the Outer Space Treaty of 1967 states that space should be the province of all mankind. This is a very important treaty of 1967. See, it says space cannot be the monopoly of any country. It should be the territory of mankind, province of mankind. Then the treaty also says space should not become the subject matter of sovereignty and national claims. There's no question of national claim or sovereignty. It belongs to all. That is the sum and substance of the Treaty of Outer Space Treaty of 1967. Later on, we have the Moon Treaty of 1979. Now, the Moon Treaty of 1979 providing for peaceful exploration. This has not been ratified by the three major spacefaring nations. The major countries have not ratified this treaty. This is the Moon Treaty of 1979. The second important issue, the challenge which we are facing is, see, the whole issue is state-centric, everything revolving the state. Now, a lot of non-state entities want the area for commercial space. They want to enter. So how is the state going to regulate this activity? That is the entry of the private players. This is the second major challenge which we are going to face. The third major challenge would be the military space system making space assets potential targets. So carrying warfare into outer space. This is another third major challenge. We had an international code of conduct which is formulated by the European Union. Now, this European Union's International Code of Conduct for Outer Space Activities is a slow starter. It has not moved much. It speaks of an International Code of Conduct for Outer Space. However, because of the non-willingness of the other countries to join, this is a slow starter. Another important challenge which we would like to highlight is outer space has become more democratized. That is, more and more countries are venturing into the exploration of outer space. It has become commercialized and crowded. And the existing arrangements, existing framework is obsolescent. So we require another system for its proper functioning. Another important challenge would be there is no dispute settlement mechanism. This is the most important thing. When there is no dispute settlement mechanism, things for negotiation, conciliation, arbitration, mediation, that is a major issue which we are going to face in the absence of a dispute settlement mechanism. Now, we hear so much about space debris, about collisions. So how is this going to be tackled? So these are the major challenges which we will face in fulfilling the potential of space. In the conclusion, we speak about India's interests. See, India's advent in the space program, we are doing everything through the ISRO, and we have got a lot of future plans. That is, landing on the moon, the first Indian solar observatory, then the first crewed orbital space flight mission, modular space station in 2030. So these are the projects we have in mind. Now, India wants to involve the private partners, like entry of others into the space exploration. So we have started an autonomous agency called IN-SPACE for permitting restraining activities of the private sector. So we have taken a lead in this by providing for private sector at the same time a mechanism to check or restraining their activities. So this major question which we discussed for General Studies paper 3 in Science and Technology, See, the major thing would be when in answering a question like this, you explain the potentials of outer space, you examine the benefits which are accruing starting from internet access, telemedicine, weather forecasting, global logistics, disaster response. Once you highlight the potentialities, come to the challenges. In challenges, I told you in the first place, the legal framework. It is only state centric. There's no provision for private parties to enter, and once they enter, how it is going to be regulated. Then the possibility of future wars in outer space, like military space system making space assets. Then we also spoke of how the outer space has become democratized, commercialized, and crowded, and the existing arrangements for regulating the same are obsolescent. The most important thing which we discussed was there is no dispute redressal mechanism. Then current issues like collisions, space debris, that is another thing which we have to keep in mind. How is it going to be tackled? Finally, we ended the discussion by speaking about India's space program, what are our pet objectives, and how we have taken a lead in allowing the participation, restraining the activities of the private sector. We have formed an organization, autonomous body called InSpace. So this would be the lines on which you would answer a 200-word question, 200-word answer for the question on science and technology. So as I told you, for the dynamic aspect of general studies, that is paper 3 and paper 2, the governance part of it, no ready-made material is available. Say you take general studies 2 polity, you open Durgadas Basu, Introduction to the Constitution of India, everything is available, including the latest amendments. So polity, the static part of it is readily available in the form of books. The dynamic part of general studies too, that is governance, it requires extensive reading through newspapers, journals to substantiate your answer. Similarly with GS3, the dynamic aspect of GS3, as I told you, whether it is relating to agriculture, whether it is relating to economy, science and technology, these three articles on these three topics can be gleaned from the major newspapers like the Hindu. So apart from this, we do not have any standard book or standard text on preparation for the dynamic aspects of general studies. So what we have discussed right now relating to GS3 and science and technology, this would cover enough material for you for writing a 200-word note. Thank you.